Guys, you don't know, we loved playing Fortnite as kids. Well, no, not kids, when it came out like, yeah, 2 years ago. But we played Fortnite religiously, like any other group
I'm
of
sure by now
dudes
we
did. Like,
all know what
everybody was playing
Fortnite is.
Fortnite.
I had known about it for the longest time, but I never actually played it until my friends basically forced me to download it and play with them.
It's fun.
They wanted to play in squads, which is what it's called when you play in groups of four. My
Yeah, of
four friends
course.
were
What would
Evan,
else be called?
Xavier, and Braxton. Evan was hands down the best player and basically the initiator of this group match. Xavier was the second best. Then there was Braxton. Braxton only spoke on his headset when he was in trouble or needed help.
A lot of dudes
Evan,
did that.
Xavier, and I, on the other hand, just goofed around and talked the whole time. The two of them did their best to explain how to play to me over the headset. Anyway, none of this really matters. I'll skip ahead to the important part. Evan stopped talking, and there was a good 10 seconds
Wait a
of
minute,
silence.
they landed at a house
Then Evan, who
and
was leading us
only
from one point to
got
another, stopped dead in
bandages.
his tracks. His character just stood still for a while. Xavier turned on his headset, sounding annoyed, telling Evan to move. His character still just stood in place, and Evan said nothing, but according to the screen, Evan's mic was making noise. Then I could hear background noise that seemed to be coming from Evan's mic. Xavier, Braxton, and I were all telling Evan to move or we'd ditch him. But we all dropped silent when a horrific, almost painfully loud screaming came from Evan's mic. It wasn't like he was screaming into the mic. It seemed like Evan was somewhere in the background of the room.
Cutting in frames, know what I'm saying?
Door slammed shut.
Like he screamed when his shotgun hit for 9 damage.
I told the two of them I'd call Evan immediately and turned off the console.
The dude screamed like that when his shotgun hit for 9.
Never picked up though, so I decided to drive over to his house, which was 2 minutes away. I got to his house and saw no cars in the driveway, but the front door was open and the lights were on throughout the house.
He did.
I let myself in, screaming Evan's name. Evan screamed back from somewhere upstairs. I followed the sound of his voice right up to the loft bedroom, where I found him hiding under the bed. He told me to hide. I told him to get out from under the bed and tell me what happened. He said there was someone in his bedroom. He would speak in very limited sentences for the longest time, until he calmed down and would finally explain in detail. As Evan was playing Fortnite with us, he felt a tap under his bed. He pulled the cloth material that covered the sides of the bed up and looked under the bed, and saw a grown man hiding underneath. That's when he threw his headset on the bed and screamed as he backed into the corner. He says the man emerged from under the bed as Evan was still paralyzed in fear in the corner, screaming. Then the man walked straight out the bedroom door, and that was the last we ever saw of him. At that moment, he didn't know if the man was still in the house or not, so we called the cops, not knowing what else to do. When they showed up, we didn't know what to expect from them. 2 cops actually showed up.
Jumped out
The
the
male
window,
officer
boot
went inside
controller,
of the
got a
house and looked
gun.
around, while
Get
the
a
female
gun,
officer
folks.
stayed
Get a
with us
gun.
outside with a small
Get a
pocket
knife, do
notebook in her
something.
hand, writing down what Evan described to her. And just like that, the cops left. I stayed over Evan's house that night just to make him feel better. We all still play Fortnite together. I'm much better now. I've never been a huge Fortnite person,
just
but all
comedy.
my friends have been for a while. I always feel like I'm being left out when they're saying
Retail!
jump on Fortnite and such.
Dude, wait,
Yeah,
no, he
I've
don't have the
played the
turtle
game a
glider.
few
He ain't
times,
cool.
and I get
He
the
ain't part
gist
of
of
the
the
elite
gameplay
club.
and
He got
whatnot.
the
I'm just not good at the game.
carbide.
So one Monday night, I hopped on the game and played alone just to practice. I did that over and over and over, until I started actually getting pretty decent at the game. Then I started to play the game with other players, not my friends, just random people online. I played a game of duos, meaning with one other person on my team.
I feel like
His
one day
gamer
I'm gonna
tag
be
was
on these
Bob
stories
Rocket
because we used to do
16
some
or
stupid
something
shit
like
on
that,
here,
with a
man.
few extra C's
We would do
and E's
we'd
or
invite
whatever.
like random
didn't write
people
it
to the
down.
party and like do
We
like
lost the game. I
impressions.
think we
and
ranked like
voices,
number
you know.
20. After the game was over, I got
I
a
feel like
personal
one day
message
I'm
from
gonna
the
be
guy,
on one of
saying
these
he thought I
things
was
and I'm gonna
really
be like,
good and that
nah,
we should
man,
play
you know,
again.
you were not in
It
any
was weird
danger. We were
because
just goofing
really I didn't
around,
play
or
too
maybe,
well at all that
maybe
game.
we came close to getting on the receiving end of
Nevertheless,
this.
I played
Like it could
another
have been
game
us
with
on
him.
this website.
This
You
time
know,
he turned on his
comment
microphone and was
section
trying to
commenting our
talk to me.
story. Although we
I
would
don't have
handle
a
it
gaming
very differently
microphone,
than
so I
most of these
couldn't
people
talk
do.
back.
Like,
I could only hear him
kick
through the TV
party,
speakers.
leave party,
Based on his
turn
tone
off
and what he was
Xbox,
saying, he
unplug
seemed to be getting
router,
annoyed that
smash
I wasn't talking
Xbox.
to him. I heard him say things like, "Put your mic on and stop being a faggot."
Whoa!
Any thought of this guy being cool was gone at this point, and I thought he was just a straight up douche.
Whoa, now.
I was gonna finish the game, but after that, that was it with this guy. He kept saying stuff, most of it incoherent simply because of my distance to the TV and the noise of the actual game itself. But then I heard him say my name. Not just my first name, my full name. When I heard this, I panicked and thought to myself, wait, is my real name displayed on my profile? But I realized, no, it couldn't be. The guy kept saying things over the mic, but I wasn't listening at this point. I went over to the console and turned it off in a panic. Just knowing that the sound of the guy's voice was gone now made me sigh in relief. I texted my friends and told them about it. They all seemed to think it was funny, typing their LOLs and LMAOs and whatnot. I put my phone down on the desk as I went on my laptop. The phone vibrated again. I expected it to be one of my friends.
It was him.
But it was an unknown number.
Yep.
The message was hi, and then my full name. I typed back, "Who is this?" The typing bubbles with the 3 dots came up for the longest time. I waited anxiously to see what this person was going to say. The message was, "Is this your address?" and then my actual address. I once again typed, "Who
No,
is
it's not my
this?"
actual address, bro.
Then I
Like,
lied
that's
and typed,
mine.
"No, that isn't my address."
My cousin's. Yeah, my cousin.
The person never responded after that.
Yeah.
I started accusing my friends of fucking with me.
Yeah. That's
They
some
all
shit we would.
swore they had nothing to
This is
do with it,
relatable
though.
with me because this is what we used to do
Low-key,
too.
I
Like,
didn't
whenever
believe
something
them,
happened,
but I didn't
like,
bother feeding into it.
I have my own
I
story.
figured
I'll
if
give
it
you.
is them, the more reaction I give, the more kicks they get out of it. I went to bed ignoring my friends. I woke up to something. I was almost positive I heard a noise.
Yeah, this was that.
You know how sometimes a sound will wake you up, but you don't know what the sound was because you weren't awake yet to hear it? Well, that was me at this moment. I sat up looking around my room as anyone
Or you'd heard
naturally
me busting
would.
out of the window as I fall to the ground.
My whole body jerked in startlement as there was a set of knocks on my window. Instead of looking to see who was out there like a man, I ran like a coward out of my room into the nearest bathroom.
Being a
where I
man
locked
in these
myself
situations
in.
overrated.
There were no windows in that bathroom, so I felt
A
safe.
coward. Cowards always.
I actually fell asleep in that bathroom, and when I woke up, I texted my friends again, telling them all to go fuck themselves. They all got a kick out of it, but when I saw them in person, they seemed pretty genuine when they told me they had nothing to do with it. To this day, I really don't know if my friends were pranking me, or if that guy who I was playing Fortnite with actually somehow got my information and came to my house.
Never did that.
Today's students are busy. Learn where and when you want. Get started at Divide.edu.
My 10-year-old son Chris had been playing that Fortnite game all day, every day for the past few months.
Oh boy.
And it had been driving me insane.
Oh boy.
I would scream at him to go out once in a while. Instead, all I heard was that sound of that bus honking its horn every 10 minutes and constant gunshots coming from his room. Eventually one night at like 9 p.m., Chris came out of his room and shouted out to the kitchen that he was having someone over. I angrily asked him who. He said, "Some guy from Fortnite who lives around here." A fuse went off in my head as I heard this. Apparently he invited over some random person he was talking to on Fortnite. When I asked him how old, Chris shrugged his shoulders and said, "I don't know, he sounds kinda old." I started to freak out, knowing some random stranger who was probably well older than my 10-year-old son was coming to my house. I locked all the doors and turned on all the porch lights. I told Chris to just keep playing his game in his room and not to talk to anyone else. I waited around by the windows until a car pulled up in front of my house.
That's why you make your kid play on Xbox.
Stopped,
You have
and
family
the headlights
settings to
turned
kind of
off.
prevent that.
The door opened, someone came out, and started walking up the pathway to my front door. I felt like my heart dropped into my stomach when I saw some middle-aged man, probably 40, mildly overweight, step into the light and then up the stairs to the front door. He rang the bell 3 times. I ignored it. Then he started pounding on the door for a bit. I ignored that as well. He walked down the stoop, looking up through the windows as he walked down the pathway. I I made sure he couldn't see me. I thought for sure he'd go to his car and leave, but he went around to the side of my house, out of sight from the windows. He was actually going to my back door. I heard from around back the door being nudged, as he clearly tried to open it. I stayed put where I was. There were no other entry points to the house, so once he gave up, he would surely leave. When the noises from the back door stopped, I waited for 5 minutes in the kitchen, until I thought it was time to check. I wanted to hopefully get a look outside, so I shut the lights and lifted the blinds in the kitchen. There was the man's face, 2 inches from the glass, as he looked into the kitchen, or rather, he now looked at me. I screamed with a shake in my yell that I was calling the cops. I think that scared him off because he walked away, and I watched as he got in his car and left. I didn't call the cops though. Instead, I marched right to Chris's room and scolded him. I grounded him for 2 weeks for endangering not only the household, but himself. That meant no video games for 2 weeks, and after the 2 weeks, he would have to go 2 months without access to his wireless headset. Now that the 2 weeks are up, he's back on the game. I get sick to my stomach thinking about what would have happened if I wasn't home.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That was very interesting. That was very interesting. Now, hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you drop a like and make sure you put down in the comments. If you do enjoy my content, please make sure you subscribe. I get tongue twisted very easily. Please make sure you subscribe, and I hope you all enjoyed. I'll be doing a lot more of these, more scary ones, more death battles, like cool stuff like that. It's only gonna get better from here, folks. It's only gonna get better. Hope you enjoyed these videos, and until next